Hey everybody, so this month I'm going to break down for you the 4 most important videos that we did all of last year. We're going to start with keeping families together. This video really kind of took off and had a lot more views than we were kind of anticipating actually. Stick around after and I'll tell you more about that and why I think this was such an important video and how it's going to inspire the work that we do this year.
Hey everybody. So I've been glued to the news lately, learning about the children near the borders of our country who were taken away from their parents. Now it's extra tricky because we're not getting the whole story. Just little pieces are trickling through the national game of telephone that's happening right now. The thing that we do know is that for a period of time, these families were being separated. And I found myself wondering, what must those families be going through? Have you ever been in a store or something and been separated from your family and thought that you were lost? It's like the worst feeling ever. And parents know that horrible moment when you're at Disneyland or the grocery store and you don't know where your child is. No matter how old you are, when you're apart from your loved ones, it's a terrible feeling. Luckily, the leaders of our country realized that this was not okay and stopped separating new families. But the families that were already separated, again, just based on what we know, there still doesn't seem to be much of a plan in place for putting these families back together. I don't feel angry very often, so when I do, I'm not always sure what to do with these feelings. But I do know that if I can use my anger for good, then that's the best choice that I can make. I know that change happens when people are using their anger well. When people say, "That's not fair," and jump into action. As I thought about all of this, I was remembering when I was in first grade. My family adopted my sister, Jenna. She was born in Korea and lived in an orphanage before she joined our family. We saw pictures of her like months before she could even come to America to be with us. And even though she didn't know who we were yet, we'd already started loving her. I found myself being like instantly impatient for her to come and live in the bedroom like just across the hall from mine. And I remember feeling like worried about her safety in the orphanage. I worried about her feelings and prayed that she was being treated well. Now, obviously my situation was incredibly different from what's happening today at our borders. But as I just even try to understand what it must be like, I'm using my own experiences as the only frame of reference I have to do the best I can to understand. I remember the joyful moment of finally seeing my sister get off that airplane and join our family. And I know that families being together is worth fighting for. Now, since we obviously can't all just show up and get involved, I really wanted to figure out what can we do? Sure, start with prayer, sending light, sending good vibes, all of that. But there's more. There are marches these days that are scheduled in towns all around the country. So check to see if there's one coming up soon in your area. If not, maybe start one of your own. You can also call your congressperson and let them know how you feel. It's their job to represent you in our government. And finally, if you want to use some of your money to support the experts who are trying their best to love these kids and families well, here are a couple of websites that we think are terrific, where you could offer some support. These are the charities that I ultimately decided to support myself. As the expression goes, it takes a village to raise a child. Well, now is the time that we need to be the village to support those families in need.
So this video was our highest viewed video on Facebook all year, and it was in our top 5 on YouTube. Based on some of the response that we got, we realized, oh wow, it seems like maybe our audience wants us to say things that might even be a little more controversial. And originally I was a little hesitant about going there because we've skirted so far from any topic that could be viewed as partisan. It's really important to me that Adam's Answers is about all styles of families and that we're not offending anyone. But as we talked about it as a team, we kind of realized these are such fundamental things. There really isn't anybody who disagrees about whether or not families should be together. Probably my biggest aha moment on that front last year was seeing the Mr. Rogers documentary and realizing that when he and Officer Clemens were putting their feet together in the water, that was an, in fact, very bold statement that Fred Rogers was making that would not have been an underhanded pitch to the audience of the day. And that he was not afraid of being a little radical or a little controversial in order to say the right thing, in order to tell the truth, and in order to impact the world and make it better. We're about asking hard questions, and not just the hard questions that everybody's going to agree with. That's something that you can expect more of this year on Adam's Answers.